Welcome, everyone, to the coronavirus presentation. The coronavirus has affected everyone from all walks of life, every field. We used to go to stores, malls, churches, movie theaters, baseball games, concerts, vacations, without a second thought. We never thought of wearing face masks or social distancing. The virus has affected Midland in the way we deal with the individuals we work with and our coworkers. We are the people. We are all susceptible to this virus. We all need to do our part to get through this together. There are challenges we are going to face at Midland in teaching our individuals on how to wear masks properly, how to wash their hands, how to maintain social distancing. There's a lot of confusion in regards to COVID-19. Hopefully the next video may help.
Yeah, I really don't understand why everybody isn't following the same rules right now. They're very clear, so let's take a minute and let's go over them again. First, you must not leave the house for any reason, unless of course you have a reason, and then you may leave the house. All stores are closed except those that are open, and all stores must close unless, of course, they need to stay open. This virus is deadly, but don't be afraid of it. It can only kill people who are vulnerable and also those who are not vulnerable. We should stay locked down until the virus stops infecting people. And it will only stop infecting people if enough of us get infected that we build immunity. So it is very important that we get infected and also do not get infected. You should not go to the doctor's office or the hospital unless you have to go there. Unless, of course, you are too sick to go there. This virus has no effect on children except for those children in which it affects. The virus remains active on different surfaces for 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, but in most cases it's days and not hours, and it needs a damp environment or a cold environment that is warm and dry in the air, unless the air is plastic. Schools are closed, so you need to homeschool your children unless you can send them to school because you are not home. If you are at home, you can school your children using various portals and online classrooms unless you have poor internet, more than one child, only one computer, or you are working from home. Baking cakes can be considered math, science, or art. If you are home educating, you can include household chores within their education curriculum. And if you are home educating, you may start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. every day. If you are not home educating children, you may also start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. Masks are useless at protecting you against the virus, but you still need to wear one because it can save lives. And in some cases, it may even be mandatory, but also maybe not. You must not go to work, but you can get another job, at which point you may go to work. Stay home. I don't know how many more celebrities we need to have tell you how important it is to go outside and take care of your mental health. There is no shortage of groceries in the supermarket. There are simply many things missing. You don't need to go buy a bunch of toilet paper, but you should buy some in case you need it. If you are sick, you may go out once you are better, but those in your household, they cannot go out once you are better unless, of course, they need to go out. Animals are not affected by the virus, except for that cat that tested positive in Belgium in February, plus a couple tigers. The number of corona-related deaths will be announced daily, but we don't know how many people are infected because we were only testing those who are almost dead to determine if that's what they will die of. The people who die of corona who are not counted won't or will be counted, but maybe not. To help protect yourself during these times, you should be eating well and exercising, but exercising only eating what you have at home to avoid going to the stores unless you need toilet paper or a fence panel. It's important to get fresh air, but don't go to parks, but do go walk in other places. Just don't sit down unless you are old or pregnant. But if you do sit down, don't sit for too long. Unless you are old and you are pregnant, in which case you need to sit down. But if you do sit down, don't eat unless you've had a long walk, which you are allowed to do if you are old or pregnant, except for times in which you aren't. Don't visit old people, but you have a moral obligation to take care of old people and bring them food and medicine. And finally, no businesses will go down due to coronavirus except those businesses that go down due to COVID-19. I hope this cleared up any questions about what we should and should not be doing during this time. Please educate your friends and family with this information so we can remove any and all confusion surrounding this time. Thank you.
we're responsible for the safety of our staff and our individuals. With the spread of COVID-19, it is the job of Midland staff to make sure all people we care for and staff are protected. We have to teach our individuals what social distancing is. We're responsible in teaching the program participants on how to wash their hands frequently throughout the day. We're responsible for teaching our program participants not to touch their eyes or their nose or their mouth, and to wear the masks and make sure the masks are worn correctly. Here are some symptoms of COVID-19. These are just a few of them. In regards to our individuals we deal with, we know what their normal behavior is or how they're supposed to behave when they're healthy. If there's any doubts or they have a fever or cough or shortness of breath, we need to report it to the nurse immediately. Here are some other symptoms of COVID-19. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. If you've been traveling or in close contact with someone, it could be a friend, a family member, it could be at a different job, or dealing with different individuals or program participants in other programs. You need to see your primary care physician to find out if you're infected with COVID-19, and also you need to report it in to your supervisors. The interesting fact about COVID-19 stated by CDC is that there are underlying health issues that causes more people to be prone to COVID-19, such as heart disease, lung disease such as asthma, diabetes, suppressed immune system, the elderly. COVID-19 also affects healthy people also and children. Transmission. Most of the transmission of COVID-19 comes from sneezing, coughing, possibly talking and breathing. The CDC is finding out that droplets is the main culprit of the transmission of COVID-19. An interesting fact, sneezes travel up to 100 miles per hour. Germ-ridden mucus spray can spread in a 5-foot radius and land as far as 30 feet. One sneeze produces up to 40,000 droplets. This is why it is important to teach the individuals we work with and our staff to cover their mouth and their nose with their elbows. Shaking hands is now not an acceptable form of communicating with other people. Do you guys have any ideas on how to greet other people other than using your hands? Such as shaking hands? The CDC, the World Health Organization, is not sure how long COVID-19 can live on surfaces. But it's important that we clean and use simple disinfectant in most areas that we touch. For example, doorknobs or keyboards or light switches. We need to clean on a very frequent basis in order to stop the spread of COVID-19. Here are some of the steps that Midland is incorporating in regards to stopping the spread of COVID-19. Some of these steps are not able to be used in some of the day programs, such as Explorers, the residential programs, and the work centers, because we deal very closely with the individuals we work with. Sometimes some of these ideas that I'm going to be covering is not able to be used during certain circumstances. Social distancing, standing 6 feet apart from other people. Using PPE, personal protective equipment, such as gloves and masks. This is necessary. All staff should be using masks and gloves if you are providing direct care to the individuals. Masks should be provided by the staff themselves. There are masks that are provided by Midland also. That's only if the masks that you brought in from your house or from your own supplies has been torn or dirty or ripped, and that you need a replacement. Midland will provide you a disposable mask. Limit interactions with people as much as possible. Try to have meetings on Zoom, telephones, video conferencing, etc. Other steps that Midland is incorporating. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds. It's recommended that you sing happy birthday to yourself, or if possible, think up a song of yourself that you like to sing for 20 seconds. Distance yourself as much as possible when not giving direct care. Disinfect, sanitize touch points every 2 hours at the minimum. You can do this more often. If you can't get to the sink to wash with soap and water, you can wash your hands with alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain at least 6 feet distance between yourself and anyone else who is coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. This is something that we do need to teach our individuals. This is one of the most difficult things that I have seen when I'm going into the residential group homes, and I'm seeing staff is working with the individuals. They're reminding them not to touch their eyes, nose, and mouth. We need a lot of patience when we're dealing with our individuals. If you're sick or unwell, if you have a fever or cough, call in your supervisor. Do not come to work. Proper hand washing. Turn on the water. Wet your hands. Turn off the tap. Apply soap. Lather your hands. Rubbing them together with soap. Lather the back of your hands between your fingers and under your nails. Scrub your hand at least for 20 seconds. Again, it says the most common example they give is singing happy birthday to yourself, beginning to end twice. But it could be any song that you particularly like for 20 seconds. Rinse your hands well. Dry your hands using a clean towel or air dry. These are the 5 steps that we can do to help stop spread of coronavirus. Wash your hands often, 20 seconds. If you're not feeling well, stay home. Call your supervisor. Let them know you're not coming in. Personal protective equipment such as masks and gloves will be used in all our day-to-day dealings with our clients, regardless of what program you work at, residential, Explorers, work center. All our staff is required to wear masks and gloves. Gloves, especially when you're doing direct care to the individuals, that you should be wearing your gloves. If our individual becomes infected, then face shields and medical gowns will be provided for staff to use. The face shields and medical gowns that Midland has, the first priority goes to our nurses and then to staff that is working with individuals that are infected with COVID-19. The first line of defense for COVID-19 for our staff and our client and our individuals is to wash our hands on a regular basis throughout the day. That is one of the most difficult things I've been observing in our residential group homes. The individuals are not keeping to their hands to themselves. They're touching their eyes, they're touching their nose, they're touching their mouth. They have difficulty understanding of keeping separate from other individuals. They're having difficulty understanding not to hug the staff that they're interacting with. Our individuals are also having difficulty wearing masks. Sometimes the mask is not covering the nose and the mouth. Sometimes the masks are on the chin or the neck level. We do need patience with this. We need to remind them over and over again on making sure they wash their hands properly, wearing masks properly, and gloves. There are extra disposable masks at all the Midland programs. Again, Midland staff, you are expected to bring your own masks in from home. The World Health Organization suggests that people first wash their hands before putting on the mask and check that there are no holes or tears in the fabric. If so, discard the mask. When putting on the cloth mask, use the ties to place it on your face and cover your face and mouth snugly, making sure you can breathe easily. If your mask has a nose bridge, hold it in place, then loop the ear bands over your ears. Make sure the masks are on properly for yourself. It covers the nose and the mouth. And also make sure the masks are on properly for our individuals we are dealing with. Again, the CDC recommends never touch the outside of the mask or cloth, which could be contaminated and should be treated as if it were contaminated. Never take off or adjust or move the mask during use. It is possible for a virus that causes COVID-19 to survive on a face mask for up to 7 days. That's why it's recommended that you at least have 5 masks so you could use masks and keep them clean throughout the week. One mask per day. Again, just a reminder, do not touch the mucous membranes, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. When removing the face covering, wash your hands immediately after handling the mask. The Center of Disease Control recommends storing personal protective equipment in a paper bag, which should include all cloth face coverings. Most of the cloth masks that are reusable can be machine washed after each use, dry on low setting, or delicate cycle to prevent the mask from sinking or becoming damaged. Multiple washings each day are unnecessary unless the mask becomes visibly soiled. If the mask cannot be machine washed, hand washing with soap and water is fine. The mask must be air dried as well, but should not be worn till it's completely dry. The CDC does recommend a minimum of 2 to 3 cloth masks in rotation, which allows for a mask to be always on hand while others are being cleaned. Face shields and medical gowns, the full PPE, personal protective equipment, is prioritized for Midland nurses. The full PPE will also be given to staff who are working with infected clients.
And this morning, we're talking about masks and face covering. There's a lot of confusion about when to wear them, which kind, how to properly wear them, and how to clean them as well. NBC's investigative and consumer correspondent Vicky Nguyen joins us now to clear things up. Vicky, you've been so smart on all this stuff. Let's do the top line first. When should we be wearing masks? You and I are inside right now. We are not wearing them. But when do you need to?
Well, the CDC's guidance on this is very clear. Anytime we are out in public, we should be covering our nose and our mouth. The intention behind this is to protect other people. The idea is we could be sick, we could be infected and asymptomatic, not showing any symptoms. So you wear a mask, you're protecting me. I wear a mask, I'm protecting you. It's especially important if you're going to be in an area where it's very difficult to socially distance, meaning a pharmacy or a grocery store.
Real quick, what if you're out running or exercising and you don't feel like you're around people and it's hard to do that with the mask? Can you skip the mask then?
This really depends. Are you going out into an open space just with people in your own household where you can guarantee 100% you're not going to come into contact with anyone else? Under those circumstances, sure, you can go out without a mask. But if you're going to a park or a hiking trail or walking along a path where you might run into another person walking their dog or going for a jog, you should have that mask on. Again, this is to protect other people, and it's very important that we all get on board and do this, especially now that it is the recommendation of the government. And in a lot of states, they're requiring this anytime you're out in public.
Okay, we know that the N95 mask, surgical mask, those are for our first responders. You can make your own at home, and I know you know how to do it, right?
Yes, Hoda and I did this a couple weeks ago, actually, following the guidance of the CDC. I brought it back in. It's basically a piece of rectangular fabric. You fold it into about thirds, put on these two little elastics on either side, fold it in like this, and then you're going to loop them over your ears. Basically, you could do this with a rubber band. The best kinds of fabric to use, high thread count cotton fabric. You want to make sure it's breathable, but if you can layer a couple of layers, that's going to give you more protection. You don't want it to be suffocating, though. And it's a good idea to have multiple masks on hand so you can change them out.
What about fit?
Okay, this is really important, Savannah. The masks, and we've seen all manner of people out and about wearing masks in all sorts of ways. We want to make it very clear. You need the mask to cover your nose and your mouth when you loop it over your ears. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with this cloth mask that a friend made for me. The idea is you want the mask to come up right beneath your eyes and then all the way to cover your chin. You want it to be comfortable so that you're not constantly fidgeting with it. And when you take it off, let's talk about that. You want to remove it from the back to the front. And when you get home, the first thing you should do is not take off your mask. You should be washing your hands first, then remove it from the back to the front. Don't touch the mask. Put it somewhere sunny because sunlight is a natural disinfectant. How often should you be washing the mask? Experts say it really depends. If you go out, you're wearing your mask, you go on a run, it gets wet or sweaty, you should wash the mask. Soap and water is fine. Throw it in the dryer. Make sure it doesn't shrink. If you're only wearing it for half an hour, you're going out to the produce stand, picking up some fruits and vegetables, coming back in, then you can probably go 2 to 3 uses before washing it.
I literally have 5 seconds. What do you do if your glasses fog up?
Okay, buy a commercial anti-fog spray or try this neat trick. Wash it in soap and water. Let it dry, air dry, without rinsing off the soap. There's supposed to be a small film that should keep the fog from coming onto your glasses. Okay.
This picture is just showing you how to put the PPE on before entering the room and on leaving the room.
This video demonstrates the updated recommendations for PPE donning and doffing when caring for a patient who is suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Begin by performing hand hygiene using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Completely cover all surfaces of your hands and rub vigorously until dry. Next, don your isolation gown. Open the gown fully. Put your head through the opening and arms into the sleeves. Place your thumbs through the thumb holes. Fully extend the back of the gown to cover your backside. And be sure to secure the gown at the waist with the ties. Next, don your procedure or surgical mask. Be sure that the mask fully covers your nose and mouth, that it's pulled tightly under your chin, and fit the bridge of the nose. Next, don your goggles. Last, don gloves. Make sure they're the appropriate size. Put them on so that the wrist extends up over the cuff of the gown. Do a final check to make sure that your PPE is on, fully secured, and without defects. When doffing PPE, first break the gown tie at the waist. Grab the gown at the shoulders and gently pull until it breaks at the back of the neck. Roll the gown down and away from your body, taking care to not contaminate your uniform with the outside of the gown. Dispose of the gown in the waist. Perform hand hygiene. Prior to removing your goggles, don a new pair of gloves. Remove the goggles and immediately clean and disinfect with a hospital-approved disinfectant wipe. Be sure to clean all surfaces of the goggles, inside and out, ensuring that they're wet for the amount of time specified on the manufacturer's instructions for use. Place the cleaned goggles onto a surface. Remove gloves. And perform hand hygiene. Last, remove your mask, dispose of it in the waste receptacle, and perform hand hygiene one more time. This video demonstrates the updated recommendations for
These are the 3 steps in regards to help us minimize COVID-19 spreading. Social distancing. Maintain 6 feet distance if possible. Wash your hands frequently throughout the day for 20 seconds. Clean surfaces with using disinfectant. The minimum amount of time is 2 hours, but we can go even below that. So you could clean surfaces as frequently as you would like, but the minimum amount of time is every 2 hours. The most frequent touch points, such as tables, doorknobs, chairs, keyboards, light switches, anything that's most likely to be commonly touched is the most likely places that we need to be disinfected. When staff comes in to any work program, residential, work program, explorers program, these are the forms that all 3 programs at Midland uses. There's 2 types of thermometers that Midland is using. One is a scan thermometer, which scans the forehead, and the other one's an ear thermometer. The day program in the work center and some of the residential houses has the ear thermometer. There's a disposable covering on the ear thermometer that you put and you insert it into your earlobe, press the button, and your temperature comes out. The other one's a scan thermometer. You don't even touch the forehead or skin. You're slightly away from the skin. You hit the button and your temperature comes out of that thermometer also. The readings is another staff needs to write this in. So the person who's getting the temperature taken, someone else is filling out the form for them. This is also done for all the individuals that are coming in to the day programs, to the work program, to the work center, to the explorers, and to residential. This is going to be very time consuming, but this is how we stop the spread of COVID-19. If there is a fever, or if there's something, they don't look right, contact the nurse, isolate the individual. These are expectations of staff. Only if you're feeling well do you come into work. If you're not feeling well, you have a fever, you have a cough, you're not feeling well at all, notify your supervisor, do not come into work. Midland policy states that staff is expected to report any instances if they are exposed to COVID-19 or have any symptoms of COVID-19 to their supervisors and do not come to work. So being exposed to someone could be a family member, could be friends, could be neighbors. If you're working a second or third job and you're exposed to individuals that have COVID-19 or other staff that have COVID-19, please report it in to your supervisor. Do not come to work. Sanitize your hands before taking your temperature with either the scan thermometer for your forehead or the ear thermometer. Staff are expected to cooperate with Midland screening policy prior to the start of the shift. Midland policy is being used to protect staff, the clients, and all your families from getting COVID-19 or spreading of the virus. So far, Midland has no clients or individuals with COVID-19. Again, if you're feeling better, wash your hands on a regular basis, cover your coughs or sneezes with tissue or elbow, avoid sick people, maintain social distancing, make sure your face masks are on properly. If you're tested for COVID-19 and have symptoms, you can return to essential work and daily activities once at least 10 days have passed since the symptoms first appeared and you're fever-free for 72 hours or 3 full days of no fever without the use of fever and reducing medicine. We also need a doctor's note also stating that you are allowed to come back to work. Staff is expected to be wearing face masks while at work. The face masks, the staff will be providing their own face masks. If the face mask that the staff brought in becomes soiled or damaged or ripped, Midland will provide disposable face masks. At a minimum, wear gloves when in direct contact with the individuals. If you're working directly with individuals, please wear gloves. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or sanitize your hands. Washing your hands, 20 seconds. Singing happy birthday to yourself or another song of your choice. Disinfect and sanitize touch points every 2 hours at a minimum. Light switches, keyboards, doorknobs, faucets, phones. Distance yourself as much as possible when giving direct care. Midland is stocked with disinfectants, so cleaning and disinfecting throughout the day is expected of Midland staff. All program buildings and vehicles have been disinfected. Day programs have been cleaned and been empty since March 16th. Our staff, we know the individuals. We know what their normal behavior is when they're healthy. If you see any changes in a person, please communicate that nurse as soon as possible. Some examples: listlessness, loss of appetite, anything out of the ordinary. We need to make sure that the nurse is notified and the individual is isolated from other individuals or program participants. This guidelines pertaining to infected individuals is for the residential program. If there is an individual that is infected with COVID-19 or suspected of being infected with COVID-19, the individual is isolated until the group home comes and transported the individual to his or her residence immediately. Inform the residential nurse. The residential nurse will perform daily assessments and regular check-ins throughout the acute period. The individual should be confirmed to be positive for COVID-19 before going to the ER or utilizing 911 services. If the individual is showing symptoms but doesn't actually have COVID-19, it is likely the individuals will come down with the illness if taken to the ER. The individual should be in his or her room as often as possible. The infected individual should refrain from going to work, attending the day program, and all other activities for a minimum of 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the client should be taken to doctor to be cleared to return to regular activities. Clean the residence houses thoroughly using disinfectant labeled effective for rhinovirus, better known as the common cold, and the coronavirus. If possible, designate one bathroom to the infected individual. If not possible, thoroughly clean and disinfect the bathroom after each use. Clean the infected individual's room with disinfectant or soap and water. Wash hands thoroughly before and after contact with the individual. Use gloves during direct contact. Ensure the individual is walking throughout the day. Try to prevent the individual from being immobile for longer than 24 hours. And a reminder, during this situation, staff that is involved in taking care of the individual that is sick will be provided full PPE, gowns, masks, face shields, gloves during this time. Notify the primary care physician for all clients who reside in the infected individual's residence. Staff should request a prophylactic antiviral medication. All staff have the option to do the same for themselves. Encourage the other residents to avoid contact with the infected resident. Make sure all staff and clients are practicing proper hand washing techniques throughout the day. Staff are expected to follow social distancing as much as they can, using proper hygiene practices. Staff should immediately get tested for the virus if they show symptoms. Individuals that are part of the day program that begin to show symptoms of COVID-19, their guardians and parents should be notified immediately. Wherever the individual lives, the staff and/or family member needs to pick up the individual immediately. The individual needs to be isolated from the rest of the individuals in the day program till the infected individual can be picked up. The guardian and or the staff who picks up the infected individual will have to decide what procedures to follow in dealing with this situation. The infected individual must be cleared by their PCP before returning to the day program. The staff that is at the day program that is taking care of the individual that is isolated will also be given PPEs, gowns, mask, face shield, gloves during that time. Families First Coronavirus Act became law on March 18, 2020. This law ensures that the employer, Midland, provide employees with paid sick time related to COVID-19. Employees will be paid their full salary up to $511 per day or $5,110 total during the time they're sick with COVID-19. This act is in addition to the sick time that all staff have working with Midland. So this is not part of the sick time that Midland gives. This is in addition to the sick time that Midland provides all their staff. The law is in addition to normal yearly sick days Midland provides for their staff. The law covers all employees for 10 working days. If there are any questions in regards to Families First Coronavirus Act, please reach out to Human Resources Jim Peterson, 908-722-8222, extension 124.